More Than a Horse, proudly brought to you by Woodlands Stud, this season standing lather up in conjunction with Northern Rivers Equine at Kyabram and also Speeding Spur, standing in New Zealand. Hence the reason I thought I'd mention Speeding Spur, because we're at a trotting stable, catching up firstly with Kari Males. Firstly, Kari, thank you very much for joining me.
No worries, it's my pleasure.
And the More Than a Horse is going to be Red Hot Tooth, but she's affectionately named as Sally. I've never known her stable name. I don't know if too many people do.
No, unless they're standing near me when she's in a race, and you'll certainly work it out pretty quickly.
Then they know who it is.
Yeah.
Either that or you're growling at the driver with the wrong name.
Yeah, more I'm cheering on Sally.
You were just saying to me there before we started this off air that there's a great story behind even her birth, and I think it probably comes back to showcasing why she is such a lovely horse. But you were saying that she was pretty much born unattended in the snow.
Yes, she's been tough right from the start. She was born on Graham Bullock, her owner's property, and the mare wasn't due, so they had her still in a bigger paddock. And next thing, the neighbours rang one morning and said, "You've got a foal out there in the snow," and it had sort of snowed pretty heavily that night, and they went out there, and sure enough, here's this little tiny chestnut thing. I don't think she was very big, and she's just been a fighter from the start.
That typifies her in a way, doesn't it? Like, doesn't matter, against all odds, she'll stand up and take on the fight.
She does. She's an amazing horse, and we haven't ever had another one like her as far as temperament wise, and she knows her job on the track, and the rest of the time she's the most casual horse you'll ever meet.
We'll get to that. You said there before Graham Bullock, I didn't think you'd trained for him before, but you actually had trained horses for him before. But Graham raced her, Sally, as a 2-year-old?
Yeah, Graham gave her 3 starts as a 2-year-old. We trained her mother for a while, because I'm originally from Bathurst, and that's how I know Graham. And because there wasn't that much trotting races available, he sent her mother down for a while. She was Vic bred, so he sent her down to try and pick up her Vic bred bonus, and she finished up winning 4 races for us. She was an honest trotter, but by no means anywhere near the ability of her daughter. So when Sally came along, he gave her a few starts as a 2-year-old, and she had to trial against the paces all the time as a 2-year-old. And so he put her out for break, and then rang up and said, "Look, I think I'll send her down there for a 3-year-old career," and she hasn't been back. We haven't let her out of our sight.
But it's an interesting journey, even just her racing journey, let alone her own temperament. We will find that out in a sec from you. But I think she'd run one place for Graham in New South Wales. But when she came to you, my memories of her was she was a good 3-year-old, and she was an okay 3-year-old, wasn't she? I mean, she didn't. I was surprised when I looked and she hadn't won an Oaks. I thought she had actually was an Oaks filly and all the rest. She contested them, but she hadn't even actually won an Oaks.
Yeah, she was pretty good right from like her first start. She ran second to Princess Phoenix, and I think we gave Josh Aiken a bit of a scare that night, because he thought he was going in there an absolute moral, and I think they beat the rest of the field by about 30 metres. And then she came out and beat Highgate in her second start. So they were a pretty good bunch of 3-year-old trotters at that stage, and she's been right from sort of when we first got her. She's been very consistent in her racing. She very rarely runs a bad race.
Do you remember when you first got her from Bathurst? Like, was it this can trot, or was it, what have we got here?
She was all trot right from the start. That's the one thing about her. She just trotted.
Yep.
And that's half the battle with young trotters. She wasn't anything special to look at, but going back when we had Bella's Delight, I remember when she first came, she was the most basic looking little thing when she arrived. So I'm very quick to not judge how they look when they turn up, because she proved us, with the ability she had. And this one was the same. She wasn't sort of anything fantastic to look at, but lovely and quiet to do anything with, and just was all trot. Definitely
not knocking her, and I've got to be very careful how you say this, but she's a chestnut. But even as far as chestnuts go, she's a plain chestnut, isn't she? Like, some of the chestnuts can get that real deep red colour about them, but she's just that really light sort of chestnutty colour. She is, but she can go a really nice colour in summer. In winter, she's got hair that long on her and just looks like a mountain goat. But she can get a really nice and very dappley sort of a chestnut colour when she's right. So. She is part mountain goat because she was born in the snow. Yeah, true. so that part actually worked. her 4-year-old career, once she stepped onto the track, basically as a 4-year-old career, she really started to stamp herself. I think she won her first 2 Group 1 races she contested that year as a 4-year-old. Did she surprise you guys where she'd sort of stepped up, or was it always in the back of your mind that she'll just keep getting better and better?
We always thought that she would keep improving. We've always had a pretty good opinion of her from her first start for us. And we always felt with a bit of maturity she would get better and probably a bit stronger, because she has never been a big horse and never held a lot of weight. And as she's got older and matured more, she's slowly kept her top line and been able to race a lot more before she sort of lightened off. So yeah, we always thought she would be better with time.
And it's proving that, because she's an 8-year-old now. Well, is she 8-year-old or
she's
she's
seven,
seven,
but
8?
she would be if the season was how it was. She'd be 8 now. Yeah.
It's very, very confusing, but she seems to be racing at the height of her career. Basically, I think she just keeps stepping up every year, and she races the best horses. I was surprised she's contested 22 Group 1 races, which just blew me away.
I know. I actually looked back when we put her out for a spell last season, and I think in her last 50 starts when she went out for a spell, I think only 3 of them hadn't been group races. Like, she just raced at the highest level, like start after start after start against the boys a lot of the time. And she just, there's one thing about her, she's never ever lost that desire to win, and she always sticks her head out and does the best she can.
Well, a couple of the stats I found too, which blew me away. She's 18% winning in that, which is just phenomenal in itself. But the one that really blew me away for Group 1s, 50% she runs in the top 3. I was going to go to the top 4s and 5s, but I just saw it. She's such an honest, just dead set trier, isn't she?
Yeah, and I think she goes under the radar
a
fair bit, because, she doesn't always win, but the thing is she's never ever far away. Like, she very, very rarely lets us down. So
I'm sure that 50%, a lot of people are going to go, wow, like top 3. And I didn't do them all because I was sort of half feeling a little bit sorry for you. But I think in less than a metre, you could have won 3 races that really would have stamped her as an all-time great. Like the Great Southern Star, you got beat a short half head. The Free for All at Menangle, you got beat a half head, and the Trotters Championship, which you did win one year, but you also got beat a half neck another year. Like, basically, they would all add up to a metre in distances, and she would have been. If she'd have won those, people would have been going, wow.
Yeah, and the Great Southern Star is the one that gets me every time. So
I was there. I must say, I was watching it probably 50 metres, 100 metres prior to the post, and I thought she'd got up. And generally, the outside horses definitely get an advantage, but I still thought she'd got up on the night, I must say. But did you?
I honestly didn't think she had. I think Kate Gath had thought she'd been beat. I thought that she thought that Sally had got up and beaten her. But yeah, I from where I was standing, I thought she'd just got beat, so I didn't get excited at all for. I was hoping I was wrong, but it was a very thrilling race, that one, and that one still hurts.
Andy Gaff wasn't that far from me, and he doesn't show a lot of emotion. He was showing no emotion on that occasion. He was very stoic, just waiting for the numbers to pop up. We'll stay on a racing career, and More Than a Horse is not about just the horse's racing career, but is that one of the itches to scratch coming up in February, the Great Southern Star?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. She's had, it's probably been the most exciting race when she's just got beat. Even though she did get beaten, it was one of the most thrilling races to watch. It's also been the most disappointing one, because the year before that she went out favourite and it was a stinking hot night, and that was probably one of the only runs she's ever run badly. I think the heat just affected her that night and she just went terrible. So it's been the one that we've been aiming for all along, and got very close but not quite.
Next year's format, will that suit her, like with the fact that she racing twice in the one night?
I think it will. Let's just hope we don't get the biggest worry about them having the Great Southern Star at that time of year and having heats in a final is if early February you can get some stinking hot weather. So let's cross everything. We don't get a stinking hot night that horses have to run a heat and a final in the same night.
And this season so far is so far behind. It's not funny. We're in November and we haven't had really too many hot days at all.
No, true.
which is might be a worry that it might go
Yep.
back. There'll be a
Yep.
lot of other people saying to me there about what would you know about weather, and they're probably right. The Inter-Dominion, she's only contested the one Inter-Dominion. I say about itches to scratch. Is that something else for you guys? It was probably a disappointment with this year being a COVID-19 year, and it being scrapped, especially.
Yes, yeah. That was definitely her aim. Menangle suits her to the ground because we have, like, here where she works, we sort of have an 800 metre straight. So the long straight at Menangle doesn't faze her because she's used to doing that all the time, and there's no hill in it. So I think that track suits her well. Would have been great to try and contest an Inter up there. We've got that, I guess, if we're still going towards the end of next year, that will be an aim. We were never going to go over to New Zealand and race her the other way. I don't think it would have suited her.
Yep.
And in hindsight, looking at it, I'm glad we didn't. I just don't think it would have suited her going the opposite direction. So, that's the reason why we missed that one.
Hopefully the powers that be, they'll run it at Menangle next year going forward. What's been her best win as far as you guys are concerned, like the Australian Trotters Championship, or is there been? Might not even be one of your group races. Was there a race that yourself and Paul sat back and said, "How great is that? She just won that."
Look, I love every win. I probably can't really, she just never disappoints us. I think it's been good to go, like, she's won the 3-year-old New South Wales breeders, plus she's won the 4 and 5-year-old twice.
Yep.
So I think that's been, even though they haven't been huge fields, it's been nice for her to go back to sort of near home for her, so that Graham could actually come, and to have Graham and Denise be able to go and watch her win, their local sires is probably a good thrill, and the fact that you sort of travelled her up there and she's handled all that.
And that's one of the things about harness racing is having it as a family and bringing it back. I mean, yourself and Paul, you got your 2 girls. It's all a family effort in a way. So to be able to race with the people that started her own journey off, I suppose, is one of the bigger highs.
Well, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have her. So it's nice to be able to take her where they can, they can go and enjoy her victory, because a lot of her victories have been in Victoria and they haven't been able to get down here to watch her. So that has been good to be able to take her home for them and win for them.
What sort of horse is she around the farm? Because you said there before, I said, we might set up outside of her yard, and you said, good luck, because she'll be down the back under a tree. Is she just like a nonchalant sort of little horse, or does she have idiosyncrasies that other people maybe don't know about?
She's picture your kid's 20-year-old riding pony, and that's pretty much her personality.
Serious?
Yeah, she's very quiet. Anyone could lead her. She walks with her head a foot off the ground half the time, like there's something wrong with her. She doesn't care if she's got anyone in the paddock with her or not. She's happy in her own company. She just parks herself under a tree in the shade and sticks herself in a corner, and she's happy. So she's happy in her own company, and she doesn't stress about anything, which I think is what's made her such a good horse, because nothing phases her.
And with people, she's the same. Like she's not. You hear about all these good mares and they're savages and they're everything. She's not that way.
No, I would let the kids do anything they want with her. And I think our eldest has actually hopped on and ridden her before. But yeah, nothing phases her.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, and then she's a pure professional. Like, she'll walk around the parade ring as slow as anything, and hardly see her moving, and she'll walk. I noticed even at Maryborough the other day, she was holding all the other horses up as she was slowly walking onto the track. You've got the likes of Wobbly bouncing up and down in the background, and the minute she gets on the track, she lifts her head up, and she's a different horse. It's like she grows a few inches, goes and does her job. She can be keen in the warm-up and can pull sometimes. And then the minute she comes off the track, the head drops down and she just walks slowly back out again.
And that's just the way she works?
She used to stress me out early in the piece, because I'd think, this horse has pulled up terrible. It's just had an absolute gut buster or something, and it can't hardly walk. But when she did it race after race after race, I started to relax a bit and go, well, that's obviously just her.
Do you think that helps her then, the way she does recover, or makes out she's recovering? She does, once she's finished the job, she's ready for next week, sort of thing already?
I think so. I mean, she doesn't use any nervous energy. And like, to travel her, you can travel her anywhere, and the times she's been up to Sydney, we've just taken her up to Rixon's, and we'll sort of get there and we'll check her temperature to make sure she's okay, throw her out in the paddock and leave her alone. And Peter would sort of say, well, are you going to do anything else with her? And we're like, no, she's fine. She's happy in her own company. You just throw her out, give her a feed and leave her alone. That's how she's happy.
And she enjoys that side of things?
She enjoys that, yep.
Does it take a bit for you guys to get used to that?
We're fairly laid back anyway, but yeah, I like to make sure everything's right, so I'll sort of just check over her. But yeah, I know that that's what she likes. She hates you to fuss over her, so you just have to walk away and leave her be.
With your drivers, she's had a great association. She had a great association with Zach initially when she came, and now with Karen, but even the likes of Gavin Lang, Greg Sugars, they've all driven her, they've all won on her. She seems quite adaptable with the drivers. The drivers aren't an issue for her who drives her.
No, I don't think she worries. I think Zach got along with her well because he walks about as fast as she does. So you'll be waiting when they come off the track. All the other horses will be in the wash bay, and Zach and Sally will be still wandering back to the stables. But yeah, Karen's done, like when Zach sort of decided to pull the pin for a while and Karen's jumped on, she's done a fantastic job. So,
do you think, like, do they understand the sort of horse that she is? Like when does Kez, I know talking to Kez through mine, she'll come back and say random things, but does she actually say how slow she walks, or do they ever actually say what she does, or it's just they accept it?
They do, and I think she worried Karen a bit the first time she hopped on her and she's walking around the parade ring quite slow. I think she did come back with a comment of, I didn't know how this thing ever had won the races it had for how it walked. But yeah, she worked her out pretty quickly. She knows what she's like. You've just got to let her do it. That's how she's happy, and you leave her alone, and she does her job when she's on the track, and that's all that matters.
Wobbly loves licorice and all the rest. By the sounds of things, I reckon you're going to tell me nothing. Like she just eats her food and that's grasses and that's it.
That's about it. Yeah. Yeah. No, you can grab a little bit of sunflower seeds and she'll nibble on them, but no, not really. She's just happy in her own company.
More than a horse, actually, like it's designed to showcase what these horses are and to showcase to people. I think sometimes I want to find a scoop on a horse or all the rest, but I mean, this is breathtaking. For mine, she's a mare, like a lot of people say about seasonal and all that. That's not an issue for her. She's just a genuine, down-to-earth, ready-to-go racehorse.
Yep. Like I said, you around the stables, you picture a kid's 20-year-old pony, and that's about her personality. She's just very casual, which, like I said, I mean, she's been racing since she was 2. She's been racing in good company for a long time, and I think that's why she's still going as good as she is, because she's just so casual about life and doesn't get stressed about, we can all take a leaf out of her book, doesn't get stressed about anything and just does the job when she's got to do it.
It'd be awesome if we all did take a leaf out of her book, I must say. 4 Group 1 wins. Did write down a stake, $483,000 in stake money. She's a valuable broodmare as such. Is there any talks of retirement, or are we going to try and scratch those 2 itches, the Inter-Dominion and maybe the Southern Star, before we even think about that?
There has been talk in the past about retirement, and I said to Graham, what are you going to try and breed, an Inter-Dominion class horse? You've got one here.
Threw it back at him.
Yeah, and he had a thought for a bit, but I've just always said she'll tell us when. At the moment, she doesn't have any issues. She's never had, touch wood, she's never had any issues. She's regular with chiropractors and all the rest to just keep her ticking over as any elite athlete is. But, the day she tells us that she's had enough, then that'll be the day we pull a pin. I'd love to try and get her to the $500,000. We're not that far off, so I'd love to try and get her to the $500,000, and I'd love to get her to the Great Southern Star. I think anything after that is, I guess, a bonus when you look, she's 8 years old. But yeah, I know it would be great to get a foal out of her. A lot of those really good mares don't always produce good foals, so I think while she's going as good as she's going, we keep going until she tells us otherwise.
The one thing I like about her is she's not poorly bred, but she's not fashionably bred. She's not a Muscle Hill or any of those. She's by Yankee Paco, who done a great job, but I mean, it's not one of the standout breeds and all the rest now. and you almost won $500,000 in stakes. I mean, that's why you want to race horses. That's why you want to race harness racing horses, because you've got this mare that's bred perfectly. Because this is what you've got Red Hot Tooth through the breeding part, but it's not an expensive outlay to get something that I'm sure the males have had a hell of a time with, but also so has Graham Bollock and Zach Phillips, Karen Manning, even Greg Sugars. Those people, when they drive her for once or two times, she's just a mare that seems to give so much enjoyment to people.
Yeah, and it gives us all hope that you don't have to spend a fortune to get a good horse. And she actually, Graham had, I think he had 4 mares, pacing mares he was sending to stud, or however many he had. They said, if you throw another mare in, we'll give you the 20% discount. And the only mare he had was Karaka Tooth, so that's why she went to stud, because if he threw in an extra one, he got the discount on all his service fees. So he wasn't even really planning on sending the mare anyway at the time. So
are you serious?
Yeah, it's just how things turn out.
To get the 20% discount, and I'm tipping the other 4.
I think she's turned out a hell of a lot better than the other 4.
One thing I've always wondered, Red Hot Tooth, where does the name come from, or like is there anything behind the name, or is it just a random thing that he's come up with?
Graham's a dentist. He's a people dentist, so all his horses over the years have all had tooth in them. So if you look through and see any horses that Teddy Demler had one down here called Swishwasher Tooth, and there's been a Thor Tooth, and there's been lots of horses. So they've all got tooth in them, and his colours actually have a white tooth on them. So that's where the tooth came from, and I guess the red hot because she's chestnut. So.
Oh, good. I was thinking it might have been a dental issue, and I was thinking I don't want to have a red hot tooth. I hate the dentist as it is, but it probably does tie back into.
I've never really asked him, but I'd imagine from the colour of her is where he's got the red hot part from. So.
Yeah, that's it. She's a great story, I think, and for mine, she's what harness racing is. She's you don't walk past her and you go, wow. In fact, sometimes I think when you walk past her, and like you said, she walked with her head down, you walk past her and you think, who's that? And then you actually look at her, but she just gets out there and gets the job done, and continues to, as an 8-year-old mare, taking on younger horses, Majestuoso the other day and the likes, but she'll turn the tables on him, no doubt, in the upcoming, in the near future. Yeah,
no, she's done everything we've asked. We love her to death, and she'll always be in our hearts.
Kari Males, thank you very much. This has been more than a horse, as I said, brought to you by Woodland Stud, but thank you very much for your time, Kari.
Thanks, Paul.